Hi, everyone. I see folks are trickling in. We'll just give it another minute before we get started. Thanks for joining. All right. Well, it looks like we have some folks trickling in, so we will go ahead and get started. So thank you all, everyone, for tuning in today to learn a little bit more about career planning and resources at Scripps. My name is Priyanka Singh. I'm one of the assistant directors of admission at Scripps College, and I use she, her pronouns. And joining me today are two of my amazing colleagues, Rachel Acello and Valinda Lee. And before I turn it over to them for formal introductions, I first just wanted to give some quick notes about today's webinar. So this event will be about an hour long for today, so we will end promptly at 3 p.m. And you also have the opportunity to use the Q&A functionality within our webinar. So if you have any questions along the way for our wonderful panelists, please feel free to use the Q&A functionality. We will save probably closer towards the last end of the presentation to do a bit more of a formal Q&A, but you can utilize the Q&A functionality at any point throughout the presentation today. And if at any point you do need to hop off of the call or the webinar, this event is being recorded, so you can always rewatch and be able to refer back at a later date. So without further ado, I will go ahead and turn it over to Rachel and Valinda.
Great, Priyanka, thank you so much for having us. So my name is Rachel Acello. I'm the director of Scripps Career Planning and Resources, and I have been at Scripps for just over 6 years, and really excited to be with you today with my colleague, Valinda Lee, who I'll let introduce herself.
Hi, everybody. My name is Valinda Lee, and can you hear me okay, Rach?
Yeah.
Just want to make sure. Okay, great. Fantastic. So my name is Valinda Lee, and I'm the Associate Director of Career Planning and Resources, and I've been at Scripps for 14 years now. I did not plan on coming to work at a women's college, and I am so glad that I did. It is incredible. And we'll talk a little bit more about like what it means to be a liberal arts student here today. Just as a quick housekeeping note for on my end, I, am sharing my home with my 6-year-old daughter and my husband share office space here. And so I don't expect that they'll be coming in and joining us, but sometimes my daughter makes a cameo, so it will be an adventure.
I love that. Awesome. So we'll get started just by sharing a little bit about who we are as an office. So Career Planning and Resources, or CP&R, as we're known on campus. I'm sure you're learning a lot about acronyms at Scripps and other colleges. We are a team of 5 full-time staff, and we really focus on meeting students where they're at. We have a real focus on counseling. Everyone on the team actually has a counseling background, and that's part of what we love about the work. I'll say it's part of what drew me to Scripps originally, was that focus on counseling, because it is such a great way for us to support the myriad postgrad plans that our Scripps students have. I should say while they're here at Scripps, but then also as they launch postgrad. So we have 5 full-time staff. We also have 4 student staff that are working for us virtually right now that help us get the word out about all of our programming. If we were on campus, they would be helping us with our drop-in hours so that students could just come into the office as they have quick questions. And really, again, just wanted to highlight the fact that we focus on counseling, because I think it really supports the liberal arts mission in meeting students where they're at, whatever it is that they want to do. So I'll talk a little bit, I just wanted to share our mission statement with you all, and I'll take a moment to read this. CP&R engages, educates, and empowers students through personalized career counseling, skill building, experiential learning, and modern resources. And we're going to talk about each of those in turn. We value professionalism, integrity, and fun, and take a non-judgmental approach in guiding students to build their professional network and develop their career narrative. We value the presence of BIPOC, first generation, low income, LGBTQ, international, and undocumented students in our community. And we are committed to providing inclusive programming and cultivating a welcoming space in CP&R. I'll go ahead and let Belinda share a little bit about how we start doing that right from day one.
Yeah, one of the great things about being a career counselor at Scripps is being able to spend so much time engaging directly with students and building relationships with students throughout the entire course of your time here as a student. And that starts from the very first week that students are on campus. So in the first 3 weeks of school, we actually meet, personally with about 80% of the whole incoming class. We would love to get it to 100, and we get as close as we can. In the last few years, we've been able to get up to 80%. Even this fall, we're able to meet with 80% of the first year students this year. We meet with students for a lot of different reasons, even in their first year. A lot of students might have a work-study job as a part of their financial aid package, or maybe they don't and they just want to work on campus. So we support students in looking for jobs on campus and applying for those jobs and interviewing for those jobs. And we also have Handshake, which is, you might hear if you're doing these kinds of career services presentations at other colleges, you might hear about Handshake, which is a very common online job portal. But what really makes it unique here at Scripps is that you're not just getting access to Scripps events, which we'll talk a little bit more about later, but you're also getting access to events at all of the Claremont colleges. Yes, thank you, Rachel. And so as Rachel was saying, it took a bit of time, there was a lot of text on that slide that had our mission statement, but the reason that we take some time to read it all out is because it's so important and so central to what we do. And so much of what we do is meeting students where you are at. And so it does not matter to us at what stage of this process you are coming in. So our counseling focus really allows us to tailor our support to your needs based on your interests, based on where you're at in the process. So sometimes for students that will, start with that dark blue circle at the top and discovering the big giant shrug emoji. I don't know what I want. I have no idea what I want to do. When I started college, I actually changed majors 3 times. The third one stuck and I finished in 4 years, and it was psychology, and career counseling kind of connects to that. But, sometimes things don't directly connect. And so what does that mean? And so we can help students figure that out too. Maybe you really enjoy studying the thing that you're studying in college, but you're not sure exactly what you want to do to pay your rent with that thing later. And so we can help you translate that also. And so, there's the shrug emoji students. And so great, fantastic, come to us with those questions. But then some students have a really clear plan of what it is they want to do. My husband, for example, knew from the time he was 12 that he wanted to be a commercial artist, and he's a graphic designer, and it's happening for him. And so for people like that, students might just need a little bit of help in figuring out how to make the very specific goal happen, and we can meet you there if that's where you're at too. So wherever you're at, we got you. There's no official limit to how many sessions that you can have with us. I know that some really large schools might have a limit because, they have 20,000 students, and so they need to have some kind of equity in terms of that. And I would say I don't meet with most students more than 6 times in a given year, but what if we need to? And so it's really nice, as a career counselor working here at Scripps, knowing that I'm not limited, that the student and I are not limited by something like that. You and I will just keep working together as long as we need to keep working together this year, next year, the following year, your senior year, to get you where you want to go. Hopefully you can tell just from our demeanor now, how much we genuinely love both working with each other and working with students. And we really aim to strive to provide the best possible service to students. This stuff is scary enough as it is. And so we want to make it as least intimidating as possible for you in moving forward, so that the barrier is not feeling nervous to come into the career center, that there are other things maybe that can feel nervous about it, but hopefully we are not one of them. We also give a lot of workshops throughout the course of the year. So, both in our office at Scripps, as well as the consortium workshops. So, here at Scripps, we give a lot of skill-based workshops. So all the kinds of things that you would anticipate a career center to do, those things like resume and cover letter, internship search, job search, eventually salary negotiation, which sounds scary, but you just, plant the seed now. Even in high school, you should totally negotiate your salary someday. Getting ready for graduate school. And we also have, events at all of the Claremont colleges. So there are career centers at all of the other Claremont colleges that are also hosting events like this, and you can go to them. So for example, I'm a pre-law liaison for our office, and there are also pre-law liaisons at the other offices, and we all plan events, and students can attend any of those events that any school hosts, which provides so many more events than you would have if it was just us planning them. We also have a few signature programs, which Rachel will dive a little bit more deeply into, but the image that you're seeing here on this page is an image that's actually in our office. So this is our library, so you can kind of see what our space looks like a little bit. And this was our signature program called the Emerging Professionals Program, which was actually featured in the Washington Post recently, and we were really excited to see. But yeah, Rachel will talk a little more about our signature programs now.
Thanks, Melinda. So one of those signature programs is what we call career exploration tracks. And this is where we actually take students on the road to cities of where we've got alumni and family members who are willing to open their doors at their organizations so that students can get a point in time view of what it might look like to work at that organization. Typically over breaks, so fall break, spring break, or summer. So we're not competing with the importance of classes. And it's just a great way for students to get a really quick burst, some exposure to what different organizations are like. They're typically themed. So we do a startup tech track to San Francisco annually. We've visited Seattle, Chicago, DC, and oftentimes a theme will emerge from those tracks. Not always, but what we love about it is it's still really valuable and important just to do that exploration and learn from your peers as they practice networking, as they learn how fantastic our Scripps alumni and family community is. We've done I think we've done 13 tracks in the last 5 years. Unfortunately, COVID has changed that up for us. So we've been working on some different virtual options, but this is a program that we have been really excited. I think we've visited 75 organizations to date in 6 different cities. And it's just been a fantastic way for us to kind of take Scripps on the road and show how fantastic our students are. Belinda also mentioned the Emerging Professionals Program. That is a 5-day career development intensive and it's over winter break. So students will elect to come back a week before school starts in January, and we really do a deep dive A to Z on everything career. So this can be really helpful for students everybody's busy at the Claremonts and has a lot of competing demands and, clubs and organizations that they're a part of. So this can be great if you really just want to set aside some time to go through everything from how do I write my resume and cover letter to learning about your personal brand online, practicing interviewing. We actually have a cohort of employers who come in and put students through their paces in a speed interviewing circuit. So it's really moving students toward the experiential learning piece of, again, getting to learn from each other in a cohort fashion. We usually have about 16 students a year who will do the Emerging Professionals Program. So that's another piece that we're pivoting our programming on this year due to COVID, so that we don't Zoom fatigue out our students. But it's a fantastic program that we're really proud of, and this would be its 6th year running. And then the other piece that we're really excited about is our online resume book. So Scripps graduates are fantastic, and we love bragging about them and getting the word out to employers and our community. So seniors have the option to if they're job seeking, to submit their resume each year, and we pull together online resume book that's sortable by industry and then blast it out via LinkedIn and to our employers, just to say, hey, you should look here for Scripps hires. So we really do what we can to just shout from the rooftops how fantastic our Scripps grads are. And those are a couple of ways that we do that. We also do that through experiential learning like internships, which I'll let Belinda talk about now.
Yes. So one of the parts of my job that's a really big part of my job is promoting our internship grant program. So, and managing our internship grant program. So internships, as I'm sure like some of you on the call may have even had internships or things are like internships already. Basically, internships are, experiences that get you exposure into fields that you're considering doing in the future. And so unfortunately, there are so many internships that are unpaid and that's hard, right? And that's especially hard, in that for students that can't afford to take an unpaid internship. And so that's an equal access issue that is not okay. And so, we are kind of trying to work on that problem from a few different fronts. So like we're talking to employers and being like, hey, how about you pay students? But we're not going to be able to convert all of them to paid internships. And so the other way that we're doing it is by soliciting donations from our incredible community to enable us to provide funding to students to do an internship over the summer that would otherwise be unpaid. So we have, thinking about internships, by graduation, about 87% of students have done at least one internship. As you can see, about 50% have completed one or two, and 38% have completed 3 or more. So most people do at least one sometime during the course of their undergraduate studies. And internship grants, we give out about 80 a year, which when I first came to Scripps, we had, I think, 6 a year. So, I would love to see it grow from 80, but I'm also really proud of the work that we've done to get it to grow their program in the time that I've been here. The average award is $3,500, so students can apply for a $2,000 grant. And then if you are planning to live away from home, and it is not COVID time, you can apply for up to $4,000 in funding. I want to just give you a sense of what some of our Scripps students do, both for internships, but also with our internship grant funding. So the next couple of slides are 4 different students and the different experiences that they've had. So let's go ahead and go to the next slide. And so here, you'll see the student on the left, who's Kathy. So Kathy is actually a senior this year, and her internship grants supported her to go to the Utah State Crime Lab. She actually got to work in the Department of Public Safety. So she was interested in science and was actually able to analyze blood samples and things I have never done. All of these are actually things I've never done. It's like these students know more than I do about all of these things, right? Because that's what internships do. They get you exposure to the things you're interested in. This other student, Megan, on the right, she's class of 21, and she had an internship with the Philadelphia Inquirer. And here you can actually see her holding a newspaper, and she actually got that front cover above the fold article published in the paper that summer, which was really exciting. Her supervisor raved about her work. It was really easy to be like, yeah, I know Scripps students are awesome, aren't they? I'm so lucky to get to work with them. Let's go to the next slide and you'll see just 2 more quick examples. So on the left, you'll see Sam. And so Sam, I actually got to go visit Sam in this garden. So it's called Urban Eco Gardens. And so this is a really interesting nonprofit where they both have community gardens. And so they have, local youth come and they teach gardening. But then they also, as a way of remaining sustainable financially, is that they provide services to community members about how to increase their own, if you have a home and you want to make your home more efficient and you want to kind of grow your own fruits and vegetables at home, how do you do that? And so they go and consult with homeowners to kind of teach them the process of how to do that also. So Sam got to kind of do both sides of it, which was really interesting. And then finally on the right, you'll see Natalie. And so Natalie interned at the Los Angeles Contemporary Exhibition. I also got to visit Natalie at this site because it was in Los Angeles, so I was able to drive out there. It was in Hollywood. And so I think when students think about doing arts internships, they might think about working in a museum that's very formal, right? And so this was clearly a very different experience than that. Natalie actually worked on installing this particular piece that she's standing on right now. So she had never used power tools before. So she got to learn how to work with power tools, which was not what she was expecting on her arts internship. And so she got to grow and learn in all of these ways that she never expected, but really helped her kind of refine her interests within the arts, which was exciting.
Amazing what you get to learn when you're open to it.
Yeah.
So I wanted to talk a little bit just about how we view recruitment on campus. We host a number of employers on campus, or virtually now, for info sessions, on-campus interviews and fairs. And one of the benefits of being part of the Claremont Consortium, as Belinda has mentioned, is that you have access to the joint recruitment program of not only Scripps, but all 7 Claremont colleges, Keck Graduate Institute and Claremont Graduate University as well. So we do share via handshake all of those event opportunities, internships, and jobs, often many of which are referred by alumni and family. So we really believe in the strength and the power of our Scripps community. And that truly is one of my chief joys in this role, is to see the way that the community supports current students and alumni through all sorts of platforms. These brands that you see on this slide are just a small sample of alumni or family members who have sent us jobs or internships referrals from these organizations. We also have a great tool in LinkedIn. If you don't have a LinkedIn account, go ahead and create one now. Start building those relationships now. What's so great about LinkedIn is any school can actually sort their alumni by what they majored in, where they now live, what organizations they're in. So there's a great way to get in touch with those Scripps alumni, people who have Scripps on their LinkedIn profile. We also have some internal Scripps specific platforms, one that we just launched called Olive Grove, which is actually a new online networking and mentoring platform that connects our students to alumni and families. Again, one of the coolest pieces for me about working at Scripps, and I've worked at other institutions in higher ed, is how willing Scripps alumni are to raise their hand and say, I want to help, because they know how fantastic the education is here and the quality and caliber of graduates that come out. So they're often looking, hey, I'd like to get an intern in here. I'd like to get an entry level hire. And we also have, a number of social media handles that you can follow. I'm sure you're following admissions. It may be how you found out about this event. You can follow CP&R. And we also have, there's, organic Facebook groups that crop up just for Scripps alumni and students to connect over geographic area, interest, or industry. So it's really, really quite remarkable. The other piece that I wanted to just give a snapshot at, because I know we get this question a lot from prospective students, is what do Scripps graduates do? What do they go on to do? My tongue-in-cheek answer is whatever they want. And I know that you actually want an answer to that too. So we love giving a little bit of a snapshot of what we see. This data is actually from the class of 2019. We're in the process right now of synthesizing data from the class of 2020. But this snapshot has generally been true over the last 5 years. We're seeing a steady increase in the percentage of graduates who seek full-time work immediately following graduation. So anywhere between 50 and 60%. Last year, it was 63% of our graduates were looking for full-time work immediately upon graduation in May. Between 10 and 15% will pursue a direct transition to graduate school. And the really cool piece about that is 80 to 90% of those who do get into their first or second choice school. So we're really proud of that stat. They're able to find and succeed in getting entry to their post-graduation goals. Another 9 to 10% will usually take a gap year and travel deep in their education and look to build specific skills. Of course, COVID kind of threw a wrench in this for many people this summer. Between 3 and 5% will pursue fellowships or other academic distinctions and research awards like the Fulbright or the Watson, just to name a few. And roughly another 3% will decide to dedicate their time post their first year postgrad to some sort of volunteer service. We often also get asked, where do Scripps grads go to graduate school? And I would, Belinda mentioned that she's the pre-law liaison. So Belinda, if you're open to just sharing a little bit about kind of grad school and the way that we support our students and alumni in that grad school process, that would be awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. The grad school admissions process is both really similar to what you're going through now as an undergrad and completely different. So what you're doing now will prepare you for graduate school if that's what you end up doing. And one of the things I think that might be surprising for people looking at this slide is thinking about oh, wow, so 13%, so as Rachel was saying, between 10 and 15%. So is that low? And maybe it is low compared to some other schools, but within 5 years of being alums, about 67%, so about 2/3 of our alums go back or have finished graduate school within 5 years. Senior year at Scripps is a lot. You're doing a lot. You're involved. Scripps seniors are involved in all kinds of things. You're taking advantage of all the leadership opportunities that are available at Scripps, and they're writing a senior thesis. Many students are also, so while only 3 to 5% only are doing a fellowship, so something like a Fulbright, there are also a lot of students that apply for them, like trying to get it and trying to make it work and trying to get it. And that takes time and effort and energy to do those things. And so doing grad school applications at the same time that students are doing those other things can be a lot. And so we, CP&R, will be here to help students after graduation with graduate school applications as well. So even if you're not going right away, you go. As Rachel was mentioning, most of our students who go right to grad school get into one of their top 2 choices of programs, which is like, I was looking, when Rachel gave that stat, I was looking for my little reaction emoji, and for whatever reason, I don't have it on this one, so I wanted to do like the clapping thing, because it's incredible. And so I think like there are a lot of things that make that statistic possible. I think some of the things that make that statistic possible are the close faculty relationships that you will develop at Scripps. Because the class sizes are so small, you're going to develop really close relationships with your faculty. And so when it comes time to ask for those letters of recommendation, if that's your senior year or even after you graduate, your professors will know you. And that won't be a stretch for them to write you a strong letter of recommendation. It's going to be easy. You've got us to help you with your personal statements. Personal statements are quite honestly one of my favorite parts of my job. Like in a 1-hour session, I can go with a student from like a complete blank page, like the deer in headlights kind of look. And like quite frequently by the end of the session, they will say something like, I am excited to start writing this now, which is a win. And so, I feel like part of our job is to help students find their voice and tell their stories. And I'm excited to be able to support the office in doing that too. I just got a note from my headphones that my battery's running out, so you might see me switching headphones after this.
Oh, adaptability in remote presentations. So I wanted also to just give a quick snapshot of Scripps College students. Of course, this changes every year. It changes often, but just to give you a flavor of the top interests and majors, and then the self-reported confidence scales that we had from our graduating class of 2019. The asterisks here are those interests, and we get these actually from Handshake. Our students will tell us, here's what I'm most interested in career-wise, and we track those. And so in the last 5 years, we've seen some movement in the order, but based on what students disclose on Handshake, the top 5 consistently include arts and entertainment, healthcare services, education, business, finance and consulting, government law and politics, and agriculture and natural resources. That is a Handshake category that includes things like sustainability or city planning pieces. So while that one might seem like an outlier, like agriculture, it really kind of folds in some of those climate related or sustainability focused pieces that our students are very passionate about. In terms of top majors, again, they do shift in order. I think the last snapshot that went with this data in the class of 2019 had computer science and psychology tied for first, followed by biology, politics, media studies, and English. Those will shift, based on students and class year, but we do see trends in that area. And then in terms of top industries for first-time jobs, based on the data that we've collected from graduates over the past 5 years, I would say the industries that we've seen the most consistency in graduates securing jobs directly upon graduation are technology, financial and professional services, and education. But that's by no means the only pathway that liberal arts graduates take. If you've heard Belinda and I say time and time again, people do so many different things after Scripps. And it's one of the things that I love about working with the population. And students will often hear me say there's nothing cookie cutter at Scripps, which is what keeps our jobs so interesting. I wanted to share also another slide that I find interesting. This slide here is from a Chronicle of Education, Career Ready Education article, talked about the most frequently mentioned skills in job descriptions over a 5-year period. And those were management, communication, sales, customer service, and operations. So this is what employers are looking for in their entry-level hires. This slide, or this right side, talks about what managers find lacking in their entry-level hires: critical thinking, attention to detail, communication, leadership, and writing proficiency. This may sound strange, but that right side of the screen actually excites me. And it's because those categories scream Scripps. So it really is like our students have a leg up sometimes when we have our employers who talk about how fantastic our graduates are. It's just exciting that the liberal arts skills are valued, but they're not always readily apparent. And so the onus is really on the applicant to explain how their econ, English, philosophy, history major at Scripps has equipped them to meet the demands of whatever the role they're applying to. And that's what we're here for. The Career Center can help you do that, can help you translate, okay, how did my learning at Scripps help me here? And what's so fascinating to me is that students don't necessarily know how to talk about this. And I think it's because it's kind of like they're fish in water. Everybody is thinking intersectionally. It's normal to value diversity of opinion. So it's one of those pieces that I think you don't know it's your superpower until you have some time to practice it. But it really is encouraging to me that employers really value those soft skills that are the bedrock of a liberal arts education. As we kind of wrap it up and just open it up for questions, again, you can follow us on Instagram if you want to learn a little bit more about the work that we do. You'll see upcoming events and resources, and quite frankly, often how we dress alike. That'll make it onto Instagram because it happens a lot. But in all seriousness, I just wanted to, thank you for taking the time to learn more about our resources. We wish you the very best as you make these important decisions about the next 4 years, and just hope you all stay safe during this unprecedented time. So I'll stop there. It looks like we may have had a couple of questions come through. Priyanka and Belinda and I are happy to stick around and help.
Awesome. Belinda and Rachel, I can't thank you enough for just all of this helpful information. Every time I hear you both talk about career planning and resources, I always end up with like a booklet of notes because I'm always learning something about resources and opportunities for Scripps students. And I just really appreciate all of the information that you shared. And I hope our attendees are able to walk away with a lot of great information today too. So as we transition into Q&A, I will go ahead and start kind of facilitating our Q&A now. So if you have questions, please, I encourage you to put them into the Q&A so that way our wonderful panelists can go ahead and answer them for you if there's any other information that you're looking for. So we'll go ahead and just start from the very top here. So one of the questions that was submitted by an attendee is about internships and talking about internship grants. So are they competitive or hard to come by? And also, are they need-based?
Got it. Great question. So, we give out about 80 a year, and we have about less than about 1,000 students, and all class years are eligible to apply. And so, they are competitively awarded, so it's not as if a student gets it automatically when they apply for it. And preference is given for first-time awardees, and preference is also given for students who are on financial aid. Need-based financial aid. And so that's kind of factored into the equation. I will also say, though, it is a big, complicated process that I manage. And we want to support as many students as possible, and students' plans change, right? Like me, so students, we actually make the deadline early enough so that students can know if they're getting funding before they would need to do the internship. To give students time to plan, because we found that some people maybe just couldn't tolerate financially couldn't tolerate not knowing if they were going to get the money or not. So we moved the whole process up to support students, to provide even more financial support to students that really were going to need the money. And so what we've been able to do is, as students get paid internships, then great, I'm so happy for you. You don't get a grant then. So, that money can then come to support another student who doesn't have a paid internship. And so part of what I do is manage the waiting list. And I will say almost every year that I've been managing this, we've been able to get almost everybody off of the waiting list who was still looking for something, who had an internship confirmed. So we are able to support a lot of people who need support. And so, students who apply for the grant often end up getting funding from some other source, if that's a paid internship, if that's another source of funding at Scripps. CP&R is not the only office that offers funding for things over the summer. The Associate Dean of Faculty's office also offers funding to do independent research. The LASPA Center offers funding over the summer to do different projects. The European Union Center has some funding to do European Union internships, which is, also very cool. So there are lots of different pots of money around campus, and students do research in Keck science over the summer too. And so part of my job is to also communicate with all of those departments to make sure that, if a student is getting funding from Scripps, the student gets to choose which source of funding that they receive. And so then we can spread the wealth and allow more students to receive financial support over the course of the summer.
That's awesome. And I know one of the things that really stuck out to me, Belinda, when you were talking about internships as well, is also just how frequently Scripps students take advantage of those opportunities, and sometimes even more than once. And I know one of the things that you all talked about was this experiential learning component, and how internships can so often kind of give you some insight to kind of learn and see what those potential careers might look like. And I think that's also just another aspect to the Scripps experience that you get to look forward to, is that if you want to try new things and you want to kind of experience different outlooks to things, that you can do that.
Yeah, I guess I feel I also just want to make the point that there are lots of other ways to get valuable experience too. An internship certainly does not need to be the only way that someone gets experience. A job scooping ice cream over the summer is going to teach you teamwork and hard work and communication and customer service. One of my career consultants that I've hired worked at In-N-Out, which is a kind of regional fast food chain. And when I saw In-N-Out on her resume, I was so excited because they are known for customer service, and I care very deeply about customer service. And so I knew that her In-N-Out job trained her real well for, what I was going to need her to do in CP&R. And so there are a lot of different ways to get valuable experience that employers will find valuable. And it is our job to help you talk about what you have done and how to frame it in a way that will be appealing to employers, and to help you be strategic in thinking about the needs that you have and how the needs that you have can combine with the experiences that you want to get you where you want to go.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. So we have another question here too, and this is kind of in relation to outcomes of your experience. And what are some of the cool or neat things that you've seen students choose to do in their gap years?
Fun. Do you want me to go ahead and start with that one, Rach?
Yeah, there's so many fun ones, but
so I
want to do that.
I will say it's really common. I would say teaching English abroad is one of the very common things that people do. Some of you might have heard of WWOOFing programs, which stands for Worldwide Organic Farms. And so students have to pay to get themselves there, but then room and board is paid for while you're working the farm, basically. Some students, there was one student I know who went back to her study abroad school, and her study abroad school hired someone for a 1-year kind of job to help organize events for all the students who were there studying abroad. And so that's interesting. I worked with one alum who ended up, she really wanted to go abroad, and so but she didn't speak any other language, and so what she did was but she likes journalism, so she applied to English language newspapers in other countries, and so she ended up finding a job at an English language newspaper in Eastern Europe. And we have an alum who runs, this is not a gap year, but we have an alum in Mexico who runs a surf shop, all kinds of fun things.
Oh, those are, yeah. I don't know that I can think of specific ones to add to that, Belinda. Apart from, we'll also see some students who will be taking a gap year before applying to medical school or other graduate programs, where they'll do some sort of intermediary study pieces or certifications. Language is another one where students will even nanny or au pair internationally so that they can refine their language skills. They're creative, very creative.
Absolutely. That is so fascinating to hear, and awesome just to hear all of the different ways that Scripps students kind of utilize their skill sets, and the ways that they're able to get that support through CP&R as well, to do some really creative and really neat things. That's just awesome to hear. And I know we also talked about this a little bit earlier, Rachel. You highlighted some of those really important soft skills that in many ways stand out to employers. And those are some of the benefits of going to a liberal arts college. And I think Scripps also has such a unique identity being a liberal arts women's college as well. And I wanted to just open it up to see if you both wanted to share just some also information about how the women's college experience kind of ties to outcomes and post-grad preparation as well.
That's a great question. I would say first, the one thought I was having, Priyanka, as you were talking, was how often, specifically on the treks, we'll hear from alumni who talk about how valued writing skills are, and how infrequently they will see that in their peer colleagues. And I think just highlighting that one of the unique things about Scripps is the fact that all students do a thesis, and that this deep dive into research and being able to articulate your ideas and your research is so valuable. And again, one of those pieces that I think we end up taking for granted because it's such a piece of the core program and the just the liberal arts exposure that we get at Scripps and the Claremonts. So just highlighting that. The other piece that kind of jumps to mind is, of course, the smaller class sizes and then getting a chance to practice exercising your voice. And so I think specifically being surrounded by other women who are learning how to use their voice, and I feel like there is, I mean, Scripps is such a special place, as Belinda has said.
Yeah, I mean, I think like what I would add to that is, you know, earlier Rachel was kind of talking about like being a fish in water, and so sometimes you don't realize what is unique about you or your circumstances or your environment until you were out of it and you realize like, oh, not every place is like this, right? And so I think regardless of your gender identity, you know, coming to Scripps still identifies as a women's college who admits students, right? We graduates. And so, but we are still a women's college. And I think as a women's college, we think about gender all the time. And I find that Scripps students are thinking not just about gender, but about other, you know, about people of color, about low-income people, about Indigenous people, about, you know, people who are immigrants, people who have, you know, different abilities and disabilities and who need extra support. And so there's this thought around intersectionality that happens all the time at Scripps that is kind of baked into everything that we do here, that doesn't happen everywhere else. And so I find that, you know, when I'm working with students on even things like personal statements and talking about, you know, what makes them and their educational experience unique, like that is a part of what makes their educational experience unique, is like being seeped in this culture where we look at intersectionality and where we look at privilege and examine the privileges that we have and the responsibilities that come with some of those privileges to support others. You know, I think one of the things that can be really valuable, that's been really, you know, I really have come of age as a professional in a women's college. I did not attend a women's college, but, you know, I've become my professional self here at Scripps, and I have found, you know, maybe I would have found my voice working anywhere else, but I really think that working at a women's college has really helped me hone that in a way that is unique and different and stronger than it would have been if I had not been at Scripps. You know, how we have so many students who major in sciences, and the number of students who identify as female who are in science classes is remarkable and is higher than it would be at another college. And so I think like that can, like, there is value in that, in finding strength there and finding your voice there, because that's not always going to be the experience. And so if you can get the educational experience in a place where you're not the first, the only, the different, that can be useful.
Yeah, absolutely. Belinda, a lot of what you had said about just like the professional development opportunities, you know, stepping and working into a women's college is exactly what I've felt as well. And even though I also have not attended a women's college prior, it's a wonderful community where you can still kind of embrace those values and the community, and also like take pride in your identity and all of the identities that you embody. So yeah, a lot of what you said had just resonated with me as well, and is pretty reflective of my experience as well too. So thank you for sharing that.
I'm happy to hear that's your case too.
Yeah, awesome. Well, also, if anyone else has any other questions, again, we still have some time before we wrap up the event today, so feel free to use that Q&A functionality. I have just couple questions that have also just kind of come into my mind as we've been chatting too. I know we've also talked a little bit about the extension of opportunities through the 5 Cs, and of course, the Claremont Colleges is such a unique and tight-knit consortium, and also allows us to kind of have the best of both worlds in that way, where you get both a small liberal arts women's college experience and this larger 5C experience as well. So I know you all have touched upon this throughout the presentation, but just any other kind of distinctive like advantages to prepping for, you know, your post-grad life, or just being able to kind of connect to these resources across the 5 Cs as well that you wanted to share?
I think what pops to mind for me, I've heard colleagues say that sometimes for students while they're at the Claremonts, there can be sort of a sibling rivalry about like Scripps or Claremont or CMC or Pitzer. But that once you leave, not only do you have your Scripps community, but you have the Claremont community. So there's this shared language and kind of just an understanding for our alumni, wherever they are in the world, that if it's Scripps and Pomona, that there's this, Claremont. So it is, I think there's this really real dual benefit of small liberal arts, you know, access to your professors in a way that not all large universities can afford. And at the same time, it's a little bit larger than a small school. So it is a very, in addition to just the resources that are available, and there's a lot of shared resources in the libraries and some of the resources that we have on campus that may be located at one school but available to all students. So I think it's kind of the best of both worlds.
Yeah, we were just kind of chatting about this actually before we officially started the webinar, but I think the thing that is most surprising to people about the consortium, like if you've never had a chance to visit Claremont, you know, sad face COVID, because 2020, so behind me is my favorite Scripps courtyard. You know, Scripps is a place where people have favorite courtyards sometimes. And so from this Scripps courtyard that's, you know, in my Zoom background, you can walk 2 blocks in one direction and you're at CGU's campus, Claremont Graduate University's campus. You walk 1 block in another direction and you're at Claremont McKenna College. You walk maybe 2.5 blocks the other direction and you're blocks, not miles, blocks, and you're at Harvey Mudd's campus. You have to walk maybe 6 blocks to get to Pitzer from this picture. Depending on the res hall, it might just be 1 block. And Pomona is maybe 5 blocks to Pomona. And so you just walk. And so a long walk at the Claremont colleges is a 20-minute walk. If your class is on South Pomona, it's a 20-minute walk, right? And so that's as far as it's going to be. It is really very close. You are not getting on a bus to go to a different college to take a class at CMC. You're not looking at a class at CMC and thinking, I can't physically make it to that class because this other class gets out at a specific time. It's absolutely possible. Things are very close. Cross enrollment happens all the time. It's a very cool thing.
Awesome. Well, thank you both so much. And I think just this conversation has been so helpful for me, and I've just really enjoyed just learning a little bit more about the opportunities and the resources and programming that happens. And I want to thank both Rachel and Belinda so much just for imparting this knowledge on us today and for sharing all of this awesome information. And you know, the slide is still up so you can continue to stay connected with career planning and resources. So I know for a lot of students and families, social media is a great way to be able to start to kind of gather information and to kind of get a better idea of different collegiate communities. So feel free to check out both the Instagram accounts for Scripps CP&R, but then also our Scripps admission. We'll be continuing to share out more information. There will be definitely more virtual events and programming opportunities throughout the remainder of fall, and we are always happy to answer any questions. So please do feel free to reach out to us, whether it's via email or on social media, or sending us a voicemail and a phone call. We are always happy to connect, and we hope this was helpful for you all today. So thank you all so much for joining, and stay tuned for more. There is more to come.
Thank you so much.
All right, thanks all. Take care.
Bye. Good luck with your decision making. It's hard. You'll do good. You'll make good decisions.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.